Hello, sir.
Prof, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. Yeah, good evening.
Okay, good evening, please. Please, very sorry to come for this lateness. It was not deliberate due to technical issue. So let's quickly go straight to the point of today's point. Welcome, Mr. Kehinde Olusesan. Now, welcome to the MI class. So our topic today is a budget system. Our topic today is a budgetary control system. So let me just give me 1-2 minutes. Let me do the screen sharing and let's start the class. Let's see if I can do the screen sharing so that we can start the class. So let's look at it. Come, just give me some minutes now. Now, just give me some minutes, please. Okay. So welcome to the FC online video lecture, Management Information, session 2. So now the topic today under the session 2 is these are the class rules. So you need to look at it. So budgetary control is our topic, budgetary control system. So let's look at budgetary control and see what exactly we mean by budgetary control. Now, when I say budgetary control, or when we say budget in itself, what do we mean by budget? Budget is a formal plan expressed mainly in financial terms and covering the activities of the entity. It means that a budget for an organization simply means a plan. A plan that is expressed in what? In money terms. For every organization to succeed, they must have a plan. And when we say plan, we mean what are those things that we are looking at doing in the future? I hope you get what I'm saying. So we must have that at the back of our mind. That, okay, this is what we want to do by next week, by next month, by next year, so on. These are budgets. And if you have this plan and you now express this plan in money terms, I mean in financial terms, that's okay. They're going to spend so much amount on this period, so much amount of this period. Now, what conveniently say that a budget is a formal plan expressed mainly in financial terms and covering the activities of the entity. It is for a specific period of time. It means a budget must be stated that, okay, this budget is for this period of time. This plan that we are preparing is for this period of time, and this when it will cover this and this. All these are what this is what we call project. So it means that every organization, hypothetically, every organization should Wow. We are still trying to work around it, please. So please forgive us. Forgive us, please. Give me some minutes. Give me some minutes. So let's continue. Let's see what we can do. So we have actually commenced budgetary control system, and I've explained that budgetary control system is all about plan, and that plan you express it in money term, in financial terms, and it has to cover a period of time, which I've explained initially. Now let us go ahead to look at what are the purpose of budgeting. Why do we even budget in organizations? Why do we budget? Now, one of the reasons for budgeting is what? To prepare budgets is to convert long-term plans into more detailed short-term plans. Now, you want to see what you are looking at achieving in the future, in the long term. You want to now see, can we now bring it and break it down into short-term plans? I get it. If you can do that, then you are doing well. Sorry, you are doing budgeting. I guess what I'm saying, you are preparing a budget. So please note that. Also, another reason why you are budgeting is to ensure that planning is limited to the long-term objectives and strategies of the organizations. It means that the plan you are making is meant to achieve the long-term objectives of the organization. Sorry. I'll be a little cough today. Now, it's not for only the short term, it's for the long-term objective of the organizations, and also to coordinate the action of all different departments or parts of the organizations. You know, if you are preparing a budget, it will transcend all the departments of the organization, both sales, admin, productions. All these departments will have their say in the production. So it means that in the budget, budget will help us to coordinate or to link up all the departments of the organizations. So it is very important. That was number 3, the coordination, to coordinate the actions of all the different parts of the organization so that they will work towards the same goals for the implementing of the plans. So please note that number 4 is to communicate the company's plans to the individual managers. It means that you want to tell the individual managers that, well, this is what we have in plan this year today. Are you getting me now? So you need to tell them that these are things that we want you to achieve and so on and so forth. Budget will help us to do that communications. Also, budget helps us to motivate managers and employees. When I say you are motivating managers and the employee, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by saying you are motivating managers and employees? You are actually you are actually motivating. If you give a manager work to do, I mean, as a, you tell him that you are the one handling the budget of your department. If I happen to be that manager, I'll be so happy. Why would I be happy? I'll be happy because I'm being recognized in that organizations. They are telling me that I'm not worthless, I'm worthwhile. Hope you get what I'm saying now. It means that I'll be motivated to do more in that organizations. That means that it helps to motivate managers and employees. Also, the sixth one is to identify areas of responsibility for implementing the plans. We want to see what are the areas of responsibility, what are those things that we're expecting people to do. I get it. That also would have been marshaled out in that budget. And also it helps to provide a benchmark against which actual performance can be measured. When I say you are preparing a benchmark against which actual performance can be measured, the meaning is that you are having something to measure with, to benchmark with. I get me to know whether you are doing well or not. Let's say, for instance, your budget you have envisaged that you are going to make a sales of 100,000 naira. Now, if that's what you have envisaged in your budget, now if eventually at the end of the day, after you have finished selling, you now make a sales of maybe 80,000 naira, that means that's a shortfall of 20,000. You had the mind of making 100, but you now made 80. That means that 20,000 is a shortfall. That 20,000 will what? It means that you are able to compare what you are doing with what you actually planned. So budget can help you to do that. And why are you doing that? It will help you to make an informed decision in the future. So know whether how to what manage your activity in such a way that you're able to meet the target or the budget and even surpass it. I hope you're getting me that, and it helps in improvement and efficiency. So all these are what are purpose of budgeting. Another one is to control cost. Why are we budgeting? Even in your home, if you have salary, if you collect salary, you don't just go to the market and start buying. You have to plan that these are what I need to buy with what I have. That's way to control cost. The same thing happens in an organizations. If they want to actually control cost, and you know that when you are controlling cost, it's a prerequisite for profit maximizations. That's what you should know. If you want to maximize your profit, the cost will be at the worst, at the lowest. That simply means if an organization is looking at controlling their cost, they must as well as find a way to reduce their to budget. So that budget will help them so well in cost reductions. I hope you get what I'm saying. It will help them in cost reductions. Now, I want to explain what are the purpose of budgeting, because sometimes in the exam they will ask you the purpose of budget. Just tell them it helps to what? To convert long-term plans to short-term plans. It helps to this organization to communicate with the managers that they are doing well or otherwise, and also to provide a benchmark in which you can measure against, and also to control costs. Now, from this purpose of budgeting, let us now go into terms in budgeting. Let's look at some of the terms in budgeting. So that will also assist us in making our sorry. Now, terms in budgeting. The first thing we are going to talk about is budget manual. When we say budget manual, what do we mean? Let's say, for instance, in the exam, the examiner asks you, what is budget manual? That you should quickly write something about the budget manual. Now, what would you write? You now say, this is a budget handbook to guide everyone involved in the budget process. This should set out the following. Now, budget manual is like an handbook. It's a budget handbook. When we say handbook of an organization is a book that contains the rules and regulations of that organization. I hope I get what I'm saying now. So that's an handbook. So if you have a handbook for a budget, it means that you have a budget manual. I hope I get what, and that manual contains do's and don'ts of the budget involved. It means that the budget that we're actually looking at, what are those things that are to be done, and what are those things that should not be done, what step by step, what are the items, what are those things to be done, who are responsible, and at what time are they going to do that. All this that they are going to do in the budget are itemized or entrenched in the budget manual. So when they ask you what is budget manual, please note the budget manual is like an handbook that will guide everyone involved in the budget process. I mean, this should set out the following. Let's look at some of the key objectives of the budget manual. Now, what they are trying to put here is that the key objective of of budget manual. When they say what are the information that's supposed to be in the budget manual or the objectives, what is it meant to contain? The planning procedures and timetable to follow when preparing the budget. The timing, it's very important that when you are preparing a budget, that the timing involved, when are we going to do this in the budget? We have to be stated. This has to be stated as we have it here. The timing and procedures and timing of the timetable of the budget will be stated in the budget manual. So that's one. Another thing that will contain in the budget manual is what? Instruction about the budget details that must be included in the functional budget. What are the instructions about the budget details? I mean, the details of the budget that must be included in the functional budget. I know when you say functional budget, we mean something like departmental budget, like the sales budget, production budget, labor budget. All these are functional budgets. Now, what are the contents of this functional budget? What are the instructions that must be in this functional budget? All this must be highlighted or outlined in the budget manual. Details of the budget approval process. It means that who are approving the budget process. I hope I get what I'm saying now. Who is going to approve? Is it the board of directors? Is it the CEO, the MD, and so on? At what level? If MD approved it, go to the board of directors from there and so on. What are the level or chain of approval? All this must be contained in your budget manual. I hope I get what I'm saying. So in the exam, if the examiner now asks you, what is budget manual? You should be able to tell them that it's an handbook of the budget, handbook that contains all the information relating to the budget on hand. And some of the content of the budget, I think we have highlighted some of the budgets. Thank you. Sorry. Now, the next point we need to look at, or terms we need to look at, is what principal budget factor. Now, when we say principal budget factor, what do we mean by principal budget factor? We also call it limiting factor. We call it constraint. We call it bottleneck. There are different terms to give this name. Let us make do of the principal budget factor. Now, if I say I have a principal budget factor, what do I mean by this? The meaning of the principal budget factor simply is what are those things that is going to prevent us from achieving our objective of the budget. I guess let's say for instance in organizations, when we say someone is having a key budget factor, what is that thing that will prevent the expansion or the achievement of the organization objectives? That thing can be the labor. Maybe you don't have enough labor. It can be material. Maybe you don't have enough materials to work with. I guess it can be machinery and machine hours. Maybe the machine hours available is not enough. All this, when they identify it, they call it a principal budget factor. I guess what I'm saying now. I can also call it limiting factor. So as far as this budget is concerned now, when I say a principal budget factor, what do I mean? This is also called key budget factor. It is a factor in the budget that will set a limit to the volume and scale of operations. I get what I'm saying now. Anything that will set a limit to the scale of operation that will make you not to be able to achieve the number of units of products you want to produce per time is a principal budget factor. I hope you get what I'm saying now. So whenever I say principal budget factor, it means that thing that is serving as a plug in the wheel of progress of that particular budget in question. I just want to say, that thing that will limit the scope or the volume of operation or scale of operations. If I have a capacity of producing 1 million bread, 1 million units bread, and because I don't have enough labor to work, I can now only produce 600,000 bread instead of 1 million. That means that labor hours is a limiting factor, is a budget factor. Because of that budget labor that I will not be able to achieve the 1 million output of volume. I hope I'm getting me now. So it is that thing that is what serving as a clock in the wheel of progress of the budget or the organizations is termed as a principal budget factor. Now let's come back to the budget now. Now, anything that will not allow us or make us to achieve the objective of this budget or the volumes we want to achieve in this budget period
is a what is a principal budget factor. Now look at it, and that budget factor, let me sound it for you. In the exam, that budget factor should be the first thing you should reckon with when you are preparing your budget, even in what in practice. It means that if in a manufacturing entity now, they identify that the materials, I get me, the raw materials is a principal budget factor. They have to first deal with it first before they do any other thing. But there is number one thing that cut across all organizations. I mean, one principal budget factor that any organization cannot do without. I guess what I'm saying that immediately you say principal budget factor for an organization, you must recall back to that. I guess let's say for instance they ask you in the filling gap and ask what is that thing that what is that thing that will prevent that will serve as a limiting factor or budget factor to your organizations? That thing is your sales. What do I say? Sales. Your sales is number one principal budget factor. Hope you get what I'm saying. Your sales is the number one principal budget factor. So please note it. Why is it your principal budget factor? It's because there's a limit to what you can sell in your organizations. Like let's say for instance now Coca-Cola now. Don't you think that Coca-Cola would like to sell 1 billion bottles in a day? Because the more they sell, the more they make. I get as money. I get what I'm saying now. But would they be able to sell that 1 billion bottles in a day? No. I get me now. Even in FCA, I mean, we would like to have 1 million students on our platform. But will you be able to have that 1 million students? No, because our sales is a limiting factor. So every organization is having that limitation anyway. That's why you see the marketing department in an organization, those people that drive the sales are very, very important in the organization. Please note that. Now, having explained that, I get what I'm saying now, that sales demand is the number one limiting factor. Then let us now look at the stages in project process. So if an organization, these stages may probably not apply, everything may probably not apply to an organization. But this is a minimum standard of processes of preparing a budget. So if you are preparing a budget in an organization, what are the stages that you have to go through? The first stage is identify the principal budget factor. I told you that you must identify the what? You must identify the principal. You must identify the principal budget factor. Be it sales, be it materials, you must first identify them in the course of preparing your budget. Now, the second thing is prepare the functional budget for the budget factor. This means that the first functional budget to prepare is sales budget. After you have identified that sales is your limiting factor, or is that factor that will prevent you from achieving your objectives, then you first go and prepare a budget for that sales. That how much are we even looking at selling? With that, you're already estimating or budgeting for the limiting factor or key budget factor, which is sales. Now, until you identify the budget factor, you prepare a budget for it. Then the third one, after you have prepared the budget for it, then you now prepare other functional budget in logical sequence where necessary. I hope you understand the other functional budget. I told you an organization is divided into different functions, like sales function, production function, labor function, and all that. Each of these functions must have their budget, which will have what is impact on the overall budget of the organizations. Therefore, after I prepare the budget for the for the key budget factor, then I will now go ahead and prepare the what? I will now go ahead and prepare other functional budgets in logical sequence where necessary. I will now prepare all other functional budget like this. I will now prepare the material budget, material purchase budget, the labor budget. All these budgets are other functional budgets. Now, after preparing the other functional budget, then I will now submit the functional budget to the what? To the budget committee for review and approval. It means that in an organization, there must be an hierarchy, and part of the hierarchy of approval of the budget is what is budget committee. And when you say budget committee, that's a committee that is designed to look into the what, into the preparation of what, into what project is being prepared and look at the content and see the worthwhileness or the seriousness of the budget, and also all inclusiveness of the budget, whether it's detailed or not. And if there is anything to remove or add, they will do at that level. That is what we call that for the budget committee. So it means that step 4 is to submit the functional budget to the budget committee for review and approval. Now, don't forget the way we started. We said you identify the principal budget factor. 2, you prepare the functional budget for that principal budget factor. 3, you prepare other functional budget. I hope I get in sequence or that in a logical sequence. And the 4, you now submit that functional budget to the budget committee for approval. After they have now approved, then you now prepare the master budget. Now look at it. This is a budget statement that summarizes the plans of the budget period. You see, the master budget, like when you say master bedroom, is what is the biggest bedroom in the house, and it's all encompassing. When we say you are preparing a master budget, this is a comprehensive budget that comes in form of what? Income statement. I get what I'm saying now, that will now embrace all other functional budget that we have prepared. It means that functional budget we have earlier prepared and be approved by the budget committee will have to now be prepared or be put in the profit statement format comprehensively. I get what I'm saying, so that we can have a bigger picture of that budget. I get me. That budget is what we call a master budget. So it means that after you have actually prepared and approved, and they have approved the functional budget, the master budget we have to prepare. Look at it. This is the budget statement that summarizes the plans for the budget period. The master budget might be presented in the form of budgeted income statement for the next financial year. It means that it can be prepared in form of a financial budget statement, income statement. I get what I'm saying now. So please note, while the 6th one is the master budget and all other supporting financial budget documents or budget should be submitted to the board of directors for approval. The board approves and authorizes the budget. Can you now see the hierarchy or chain of approval of the budget now? You know, the first one we talked about was the budget committee, and that committee is the one that will approve the functional budget. After that, you now prepare your master budget, which should now go to the board of directors for approval. It means that the master budget with all other supporting documents of that budget must be approved by the board of directors, that's BOD of the organization. The board approval and authorizes the budget. Now, after they have approved and authorized the budget, then the detailed budget is communicated to the managers responsible for their implementations. You know, after the approval, then they can now relate with each of the managers of each of the departments and talk to them that these are things that we have to do in this budget. These are your own responsibility. They will go to the sales department and tell the sales manager, these are what we are going to do in this budget period. They go to the production manager, they say, this is what you're going to do in this budget period. All these are what will be done after the budget has been approved by the board of directors. So I hope you understand now the detailed communication of the budget to the responsible managers will take place. Why the last thing is control process. Now, after the budget has been approved, actual performance should be monitored by comparing with the budget. They can now work. There are bodies that they will now start comparing that budget with actual performance in the period to know whether there is deviations between what they are budgeted for and what was actually in place. I hope you understand what I'm saying now. These are the steps in budget process. So in the exam, please, when they ask you for the steps in budget process, the steps are quickly run down the 6 steps, 8 steps that you first need to identify your principal budget factor. After you have identified, prepare a budget for that principal budget factor, and it's always a sales in most of the times. After that, you now prepare other functional budget. Logical sequence, then you submit it to the functional budget, the functional budget to the budget committee for approval. After which you now prepare a master budget, and from that master budget, you go to board of directors for approval. After they approve it, they will communicate to the responsible managers. Then there will be a control process. All this you are doing in the preparation of budget. So if you understand these steps, please commit it to memory in case they ask you these questions. Now, after you have done that, let us now look at the different budgets that we can have. Please note, at this level of EMA, all these budgets that are listed there are not going to be tested. I get what I'm saying now. though some of them are going to be discussed in the higher class, that's in skill level under performance management. But for completeness sake, I want to include everything here. I get what I'm saying now. So let's look at the budgets that we have here. I'll just explain some of them that are relevant at this level. Then we'll now differ the remaining to the next level. Now, let's look at the budgets to be discussed. There are 1, functional budgets, 2, rolling budgets, 3, zero-based budgeting, 4, incremental budgeting, 5, top-down budgeting, bottom-up budgeting, 7, periodic budgets, and also activity-based budgeting and uncertainty in budgeting. And also you can have flexible budget as a flexible budget. All these are the examples of what of budgets you can meet. You can still have more, it's not exhaustive. I hope I get what I'm saying. Let's start with the functional budget. Now, if you look at some of the questions they are setting for you in your exam, I mean, if you look at the questions, you realize that most of the questions are tilting towards functional. Please don't forget there is also a cash budget somewhere there that will meet it. Now, this functional budget is, 60% of the budget questions, computation you are asked to do in the exam are what are from this functional budget. Now, when we say functional budget, it's a budget for a particular aspect of the entity's operations. It means that a budget that is for a particular aspect of the entity's operations. Let's say, for instance, in our organizations now, we have a sales aspect of our business to be sales, aspect of our business to be productions, business to be labor payments and so on. So now, each of these aspects of this business will now come with their own budget for a year or for the work for the budget year. I get what I'm saying. So if that's the case, then we say those budgets that are tailored towards the different aspects of the organizations tend to be functional budget. I can also say it's a departmental budget. I get what I'm saying. Because when you say you are dividing an organization, there are functional division of an organization. Each functions, each aspect of the organization, the budget prepared for them is functional budget. Now, in a manufacturing company, functional budget should include the following. Now, let's say, for instance, you are producing bread or cake. I get what I'm saying now. So, how do we handle it? What are the budgets in that bakery that they can produce in that bakery? The functional budget. It can be the sales budget. That's for sales. Production budget for production resources, such as the material cost budget and labor cost budget, a material purchasing budget, expenditure budget. These are different aspects of the bakery. I get what I'm saying. Sales budget talks about the aspect is dealing with how to sell the bread you produce. Production budget is dealing with how to produce. Each of these area or aspects must have their budgets in place. These budgets are what we call functional budget. We'll look at how to prepare the functional budget today. Now, the next one is rolling budget. Let's say, for instance, in the examiner now tries to test you on rolling budget. What are they talking about? Now, they also call continuous budget. They are budgets which are continuously updated throughout a financial year. I get me by adding a further period, say a monthly or a quarter, and removing the corresponding period that has just ended. When we say rolling budget, it's like it was a continuous budget in which you need to continuously update that budget. Let's say, for instance, you always prepare a year budget, but that year budget, you always put it in quarter, maybe January to March, April to June, July to September, and October to November to December. That's for a whole year, for 2018 or 20. Now, as I prepare this budget for each of this quarter for 2020, now, after you have now finished January, February, and March, which happen to be first quarter of 2020, I get in once you are done with that period, you will now add another 3 months, January, February, and March in 2021 to the budget. That means that at any point in time, the budget will now be 12 months. I've removed the first 3 months now. I've added another 3 months to it in the next year, which means that my new budget will now be from April 2020 to March 2021. Can you now see that's another 12 months now? I've rolled it now. Can you see the rolling now? I removed 3 months. I added another 3 months next year. Now, After the another 3 months again, April to May, June, April to June again in 2020. If I remove it now, I will now add another April to June in 2021. Meaning that it will now start, the another budget will now start from July 2020 to June 2021. That's another 12 months. If I'm preparing the budget that way, I'm having a rolling budget. I hope I get what I'm saying now. So that's why they said, also called continuous budget. They are budgets which are continuously updated throughout a financial year by adding a further period, say a month or a quarter, and removing the corresponding period that has just ended. I hope you get what I'm saying now. So please notice that's rolling budget. So let's look at another budget, which is zero-based budgeting. Now, in the exam, both at this level and at skill level, even at final level in SFM, you have zero-based budget. Even if you go to PSCF, they can have zero budget. If you go to maybe MG, they will have zero budgeting. Now, but most importantly, it's more apt for them to have it in PM because it is also for performance management. It's a performance management topic. Now, going back to the point, when they say zero-based budgeting, what do we mean? From the zero base, what does that mean? That zero-based means what? It simply means that what? When you are preparing a budget and you don't take cognizance of what has happened in the past. I guess what I'm saying. Let's say, for instance, you want to budget for petrol in this year in your organizations, and last year you actually spent maybe 100,000 now petrol in that year. You now say, okay, so far it's 100,000 last year. Then this year, let's just add 20,000 to it and make it 120. You now want to say it's 120 this year without actually looking at what exactly are those things that we're going to do this year that are going to involve petrol. I get something. If you're doing that, you're not doing zero-based. I get it. But if you want to really do zero-based, you will not consider the 100,000 last year. I get me. You assume that that one is gone. I get what I'm saying now. You now need to now prepare budget for that petrol this year by taking cognizance of what are those things that will involve you spending money on petrol. I get what I'm saying now. If you now envisage those things, you now itemize what are the petrol you are going to incur, you are going to buy. I get me. So if you now add this together and it happens that it's 40,000 petrol you are going to buy this year, so be it. Then go ahead and buy 40,000 naira. That means that I'm preparing a zero-based budget. I hope you're getting me. So I'm having a zero knowledge of what happened in the past. I'm not bringing in the inefficiencies of what I've done in the past into the current in the future. I hope you're getting what I'm saying now. So a zero-based budgeting in the exam, your examiner asks you, you don't need to think, you don't need to what? You need to cram. You should just tell the examiner that is a budget that is prepared, that is having a what, you don't recall back to what, that is not recourse back to what has happened in the past. Rather, you prepare the budget based on the what current situations. I get what I'm saying now. That's zero-based budgeting. If you look at what the story I put here, I said the principle behind zero-based budgeting is that the budget for each cost center should be made from scratch or zero. You can see what I'm saying. It should be made from what? From scratch or zero. Every items of expenditure must be justified in its entirety. I guess what I'm saying now. Now, it means that in order to be what to be included in the next year budget, it means that you have to justify the reason why we have to spend so much on the budget. I hope I get what I'm saying now. You have to justify the reason why I need to spend so much on this particular thing. You don't need to recall back to what happened in the past. Now the next one is let's look at how do they even implement the zero-based budgeting. Let's look at briefly the steps is still more than this, but basically at this level, what of you they ask you, what are the 3 steps you want to approach it to preparing a zero-based budgeting? Please give me 1 minute. Let me drink water. So you can also drink water, Mr. Kennedy. Yeah. Now, welcome back. Now, implementing zero-based budgeting, there are 3 steps or approach towards zero-based budgeting. Let's look at it. The first one, which is step 1, is what is to determine, define terms or activities for which cost should be budgeted, and specific speedy decisions should be planned. Now, these are decision packages. What are the activities which you need to incur cost on? You need to now identify the organizations as what are those activities you need to buy. You need sales activities, production activities, and all that, in which you need to incur cost on. This, you need to identify those activities. That's 1. 2, you need to now evaluate and rank that. You call those activities, you call them decision packages. These are decision packages. Like the activity that needed to incur cost on. You identify that, you now evaluate and rank that activities or that packages in order of priority, eliminating packages whose costs exceed their value. Now, those packages now, activities that involve cost now. You now rank them that this one is the most important, this one is the next most important, and so on and that order. I get the one that is not even beneficial, that you know that the value of it exceed, the cost of it exceed the value, you can eliminate it. I get what, but you now prioritize those decision packages, and from there, after you have now prioritized it, then you can now allocate resources to them. Okay, these are simple as that. I guess define terms or activities for which cost is needed or budgeted. Then you need to evaluate or prioritize those activities. They call them decision packages, prioritize them, and also allocate resources to them. That's that. Then you now see what are the merits of zero-based budgeting. Don't forget, Nigeria, it's just lately that we start using zero-based budgeting, because what we always use before is continuous budgeting. I guess, but when we say merits of zero-based budgeting, what are the merits? It's possible to remove ineffective operations. That's sure, because if I'm preparing a budget now and I don't take cognizance of what happened in the past, I just look at what exactly is happening now and what will likely happen in the future. Then I don't. I'm indirectly removing effectiveness of the past. I hope I get what I'm saying now. And it forces employee to avert wasteful experimentation. If I know that there is a waste in the past, then I have to take care of the waste now. I hope I get what I'm saying in my budget, because I don't even recall to the past when I'm making my decisions. That means it forces employees to avert wasteful experimentation, and it increases the motivation of staff by promoting culture of efficiency. It makes workers to be efficient, because what happened in the past will not be yardstick or measurement of what will happen now. You have to prepare the project now based on the reality or economic realities now. It will make them to be happy, to be motivated, because they believe that the company is efficient. And also, it challenges the status quo. I hope you know, what they have been doing before. What people have been doing over time, the status quo. It will challenge it. That why do you have to be spending this money? Why would you have to spend this amount on this amount? I guess what I'm saying now. These are the benefits that comes or accrue to what zero-based budgeting is. Challenging the status of resources. Obviously, that's means that it allows efficiency. Now, what are the demerits? Now, enormous extra volume of papers work is needed. You do a lot of volume of paperwork to ensure that you have this ZBB, that's zero-based budgeting. Now, extra time is required. It requires extra time. Now, 2015 PM. Your MI, yeah, I think I need to have asked it several times. So please, I want you to look at it. I hope I get zero-based budgeting. I hope you are following secondly. Now, the next one is what? Incremental budgeting. Now, when I say incremental budgeting is a sharp opposite of what? Of zero-based budgeting. When I say zero-based budgeting is a budget you prepare that you don't recall to what happened in the past. Is that not? Is that not? But when it is now what? When it is now incremental budgeting, then it means that you need to recall back to what happened in the past. How much did you spend last year? You spent 1 million. Okay, let us now add 10% of 1 million to it, which is 100 million. 100,000. What you are spending this year will be 1.1 million. Can you now see that there is no justification? Listen, there is no justification for the 1.1 million. Rather, so just because they just know that they spent 1 million last year, either they spend it right or not, it's not even the concern there now. What they have to do is just make reference to what we spent last year and we'll add something to it. That's what we spend this year. So by next year again, what we spend this year, we'll add something to it, we'll spend next year. And so on and so forth. That kind of budget is incremental budgeting, and this is a method of budgeting in which next year's budget is prepared by using the current year's actual results as a starting point and making adjustments for expected inflation, sales growth, or decline, and other known charges. So you have seen that. So let's also now look at top-down budgeting and bottom-up budgeting. When I say top-down, that's the budget that comes from the top executive down to the subordinate. It means that when a budget is prepared from the top executive, now this is one approach of budget process. With top-down budgeting, budget targets are set at senior management level for the organization as a whole, and each major department or activity within the organization. I hope that that's what I'm saying now. So the meaning of it is that it is a budget. It is a budget that you prepare that move from the senior management down to the subordinates. However, then that's top down. But when it's bottom up, that's the budget that's going from the subordinate up to the senior management. Now, bottom-up budgeting, this budgeting process starts at a relatively low level of management. You get me now? These are submitted to the superior, who combines the lower level budget into a combined budget for the department as a whole. So in a nutshell, top-down budgeting is from top to the bottom, while the bottom-up budgeting is a budget running from the bottom of the ladder of the organization. Now, the seventh one is periodic. Sorry for the network break. It's network issue. Sorry. Now we are actually these budgets now. Periodic budgeting budget. A periodic budget is a budget for a particular. As I've explained, look at the budget. Now, sorry, the network is bad. Or just managing the network today. It should be because of the rain. Now, a periodic budget is a budget for a particular time period. Any budget prepared for a particular time period. Please, it's showing me that my network is unstable. I'm so sorry for today. It's showing me the network is unstable. I'm seeing that on the screen. Now, a periodic budget is a budget for a particular time period, typically the financial year. The budget is not changed or revised during the year, and it's a fixed budget for the period. If you prepare a budget that is not meant to be changed in a particular year or a particular period, that budget is what is a periodic budget. I hope you get what I'm saying now. So a periodic budget is a budget that are meant to stay or remain stable, for a particular period of the project. Hope you are getting me now. So the next one is activity budget. So please, you should let go of the activity budgeting for now. It's for the next level. Uncertainty project is also for the next level. But what they mean by uncertainty budgeting is that sometimes there is what there is a fluctuation in what's in our prediction, in our budgeting. So how do we bring in probability? I get what I'm saying now. I mean, when our budget, that's what the uncertainty budgeting, but it's for the next level. Why the flexible budget is also for the next level. So when we say flexible budget, we mean the budget that you prepare that you reflect different level of what activities. That means that if you want to produce 100 or 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 units of bread, you want to see how is your cost or your budget changing because of this number of output. Now, a budget will prepare that reflect these changes or disparity in the output level. I guess in the what is a flexible. But when you say something is flexible, it means that it's what to that's flexible budget. Sorry for the functional budget. I told you initially that we have a functional budget, and that functional budget is the budget to prepare functional budget. That's the budget of the department. I've been able to you have to understand or remember this budget flowchart. I guess no, I told you the other time that when we say a functional budget, that's a budget of what of department. I get what I'm saying. That's sorry for the internet, it's streaming network connection problem. Now, that's a functional budget is a budget of what of department. What of different activity, different aspects of what of the business. Now, and I told you for you to pay a functional budget, you have to first identify which one is the principal budget factor. Which one is that thing? Which activities is that is very germane to the organization that can prevent you from expanding or achieving objectives? I guess of the budget or of the organizations. And I said number one is sales budget. Sales. Therefore, you have to first look at the steps I give you in the step process of what of the project. I said you identify the principal budget factor and you pay a budget for it before you now prepare the other functional budget. But if I identify sales to be the principal budget factor, we now prepare a budget for which is sales budget. After the sales budget, note before you can produce anything, you want to know what to sell. Because if I want to produce bread, I want to know how many of them am I going to sell. If I'm going to sell 1,000, then I will know that maybe I should produce 1, 2. So that if I sell the 1,000, you see how closing stock of 200. That means that after I prepare my sales budget, it will now give me a clue into knowing how many of the projects I'm going to put, how many of the products I'm going to produce. That's now the production budget. These are the other functional budget. Now the production budget now means that it's a budget that will help me to know how many of the You know, for me to know that, then I must first know what is my sales budget. You know, I've known my sales budget. I know what I'm going to say. How much I'm going to produce. After I've done my production, I'm going to therefore, after I've done my production, then I will now know how much material am I going to use. So, if I know my production, it's be easier for me to know how much material I'm going to use, how many flour I'm going to have. Then it's easier for me to know how much of the flour I'm going to purchase. You know, if I know what I'm going to use as material or flour, I must consider the fact that I have closing stock of flour or opening stock of flour from the last year. So all these I have to put into consideration before I go to the market to buy. Therefore, my material usage budget, what will be my material purchase. But if I know what I'm going to use, it will be easier for me to go ahead. And if I know how much I'm going to buy in which is the material purchase budget in units, then it will be easier for me to know what is the material purchase budget in Naira, how much is the Naira value of what I'm buying in the market. I get it now. And even from here now, there's something omitted here. If I know what I'm going to produce, it's easier for me to know how much labor I'm going to incur. That's labor budget. That's another functional budget. Can you now see the sequence, logical sequence? If you look at that steps I gave you, it said prepare other functional budgets in logical sequence. After you have first, listen to the steps again. Identify the principal budget factor. Prepare the budget for the principal budget factor. And now prepare other functional budgets like all this production material and others in logical sequence before you can now hand it over to the budget. If I hand it over to the committee for approval, then now prepare master budget, which you now hand it to the board of directors for approval. That is something they now communicate to the approval managers, and from there they can now do controlling of the budget. You can see that the functional budget is a logical sequence. So what we are going to be doing then, I will be taking the questions that will help us to know how do we even prepare budget in this functional budget. Okay. No, sorry. I have to. No. Okay. So let's now. Let's share. It's just unfortunate that that the network is very. Now, as I said, let's now quickly go into questions. Now, we will start from our sales budget. You know, that's a budget for sales. If you say sales budget, what do you mean by sales budget? That's a budget of and to reflect our sales. That's our sales budget. So how much are we looking at? Then look at the question. To determine sales budget, how do we pass sales budget? Sales budget is determined by the exam, functional function in exam. I hope I get it now. So we'll still move on to question later. Let's look at this scenario and look at the way it runs. Now, to determine the sales budget, what do? You must now. So the determine the sales budget, you must divide the sales unit by 30%. For instance, assuming a company now. So assuming a company produces 2 products, 500 units of B at £1 per unit. Now say and sold 1,000 units of A at £2 per unit and 500 units of B at £1 per unit. That's required. If you add the sales budget in units and the value. Can you now see they sold how many units of the products? A, 1,000 units. B is the price of the A, and B is 500 units of products. And then what's the price? £1 per unit. If you ask to prepare the sales budget of this, so what do you do? Just analyze it this way: A and B. What's the sales in units? 1,500. What's the selling price? £2, £1. You now say the selling price, the sales now is 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. 1 times 500 is 500. Addition of 2,500 is 2,500. This is a budget. This alone is a budget because it's on like this statement now. It's already arranged. Can you see the sales budget? Just multiply production. I told you the production is depending on sales. If you look at the chart I gave you,
you look at this chart, after the sales is productions. So let's look at the productions. Now for the productions, to determine the production budget, how much to produce, add the closing stock of finished stocks to the sales and less opening stock. It means that what do you have as closing stock of that bread? That's the stock of bread. Add it with what we sell. You had the closing stock, what is left over at the end of the year or the period of what stocks. Add it to sales. Now less opening stock. That's what stock bread we brought from last year. If you let the opening stock, what you get is what you produce. So, sorry, we have to manage it today. Sorry, please. Something like that. Now, for the production budget now, to determine the production budget now, you add the closing stock of finished stocks and less your opening stocks. That's just it. To your sales, just add closing. So, production budget. Now let's look at the example. From the first example, that's from the first example we had. Assuming the opening stocks and closing stock of finished stocks of products A and B as follows. Now, so for the first example, assuming the opening stocks and closing stocks of finished stocks of product A, if we're able to continue, if the
Now it's the production budget now. Now from first example, assume the open stock wow. Today is something else. I'm sorry. Sorry, it's the network not too friendly. So let's see you can see the 1039. So by that not you cannot handle this network 1045. If this thing is persistent, continue from this class. Continue from this question class. Now, decision 2 from the example for the sector. As we stock of finished stocks of product A and B as follows. Now look at it. We're now giving the opening and the closing stock. Look at the 200 and 400. For here, by the closing stock is 100 and 100. What do you need to do to your productions? Just say your sales equals 1,500. I see the sales unit from the first example 1. Now, what do you need to do? Just say sales, closing stock, 100, let's talk. Close stock is let's open stock to get instruction. Now, so that's that. The production is now 400. Your production is sales plus closing stock. Now, step 3 now, how do you get our material usage? Now, look at material usage. Material usage is a function of production. If I know what to produce, it will be easier for me to know how much to produce per time. How can you say
No. So if you look at the format, we are looking at material usage budget. So for the material usage budget, material usage stands here now, illustration 3. In continuation from the it's a serious challenge here. Just see. Let's look at it this way. Please add this if we are unable to continue. Please let us close the class today, please. So, Mr. Lucius, thank you.